Here we go.
Whew.
Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators podcast episode. Also live stream on Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm doing a little bit of a different kind of series where I'm having someone from my team join us, pick the topic, and talk through it with you guys, and we'll be doing questions here with you as we normally do. So today I have Delana from my team. She's one of the YouTube strategists that works with our clients, just digging into their analytics, just like similar to Lennon. If you listened to our episode last week, he does him and Delana work hand in hand doing a lot of that same stuff with our clients. So welcome, Delana. Good to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
So I reached out to you, Delana, and I asked, it's like, hey, what do you want to talk about? And I want to hear your story and everything. But first, tell us what you picked that you thought creators should hear. And let's dive in.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about getting into kind of breaking out of the creator mindset because we get so stuck in our side of content creation. And how do we kind of break out of that and really get into our viewer's mind so that we can best create content that really resonates with them and not only brings them in, but brings them back. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a great conversation about that today. As always, leave your questions in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them here a little bit later. Laura, my producer, is not here today, so you guys will just leave them, and I will do my best to keep up while Delana blows your mind. So we're going to dive into that here in just a second, but tell us a little bit about yourself first, Delana, and yeah, your backstory on YouTube and what you're all about.
Yeah, so I grew up in Texas in the Dallas area. I still am currently here. And I grew up for a long time not really knowing what I wanted to do. I actually grew up as a musician, similar to Lennon. But I then kind of found my passion when I was around 15, 16 years old in beauty and makeup. And I actually found it on YouTube. I found my first makeup tutorial and I was just like mind blown. I didn't know that makeup could be like so transformative. And so I kind of fell into not just the beauty industry, but YouTube in and of itself before YouTube was cool. And I started just like watching YouTube video after YouTube video, and I really grew and honed in on my skills there. And then I started working in the makeup industry for a long time after that. But in every job that I had, whether it was a salon or a beauty store or whatever, I always ended up running their social media. And so it was like, which I don't think I've even told you that, Tim.
No.
But yeah, I actually always started running their social media, whether it was their Instagram or starting a YouTube channel for them or whatever. And I helped them really kind of grow their reach there. And so then I decided I was going to get serious about my own channel, and I started making my own beauty videos. And then I actually started by going to Video Labs live.
Yeah.
So it was a 2-day workshop, which is how I really connected with Tim. And then after that, I just fell into really like the analytics side and like the strategy side and diving into your metrics. And yeah, so it's all just been a snowball of bringing me here. So
yeah. So yeah, to fill in that story a little bit, we had a growing number of clients, people who are looking for someone to get into their analytics, give them strategy, give them bullet points and check boxes of how do I grow this thing? How do I take this to the next level? And so I reached out to a few people, and you and Lennon, I was like, I can't choose between either of them. Like, they're both so good. And then we had enough more and more clients coming on that I was like, shoot, take them both. So, and we've had fortunately enough to keep up with that. So I'm glad you're here, Delana. And it's been good to have you and Lennon both helping our clients really grow on YouTube and see a lot of fun results and the stuff that they're doing. So, and yes, cooking with Kalisha in the chat is like, do you still do Video Labs live? We will be. We're having a hard time getting a date down because my schedule is so busy, and we had a date settled, and then I had another thing come up, another event that I'm speaking at conflicts with it. So, Yeah, we don't have a date yet for it. And Video Motivator says he is not live, but we actually are definitely live. So
Yes.
ask your questions in the chat and we will get to those here in a little bit. That relates to this topic of what we're talking about today here, which is like setting up your videos to really resonate with people and the work that you need to do beforehand that you put into the videos to make them actually work really well. And so tell us, how we should start thinking about this, Delana, when it comes to this mistake. What are creators doing that's just really holding them back and their videos back and really resonating with an audience?
Well, I think that, and I see it time and time again with whether I'm just doing a consultation with creators or it's like video labs or whatever. It's one of the first questions that we ask our creators is, why would people care about your content? And even that question has like blown so many people's minds. They're like, oh, I never really thought about that, like why would people come to my content, And I think that's just really evidence of how we get so stuck in our side of things and we get stuck in what we want to create. And not that you should ever stop creating what you want to create, but it's more about how what you're creating is coming across to your viewers and how you're communicating your mission to your viewers and what they're really taking away from your video at the end of it. And so I think that's really the biggest mistake that we make, is that we forget to break out of our minds and break into the viewer's mind, and only looking at like our side of things.
You hear a lot of people say, hey, make whatever you're passionate about. Make it like just whatever you're passionate about, go do that, and whatever makes you happy, kind of do that. Are you saying no, don't do that? Or how would you answer that?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Actually, your viewers will be able to tell if you're passionate about what you're making or not. Mm-hmm. That I think it's really hard to fake it. And so you should definitely absolutely make what you're passionate about, but it's your approach to how you're making what you're passionate about. It's how you're actually talking about, like structure. It can be something from as simple as structuring your videos, how you're opening the videos, how you're closing the videos, and really knowing why people are coming to your content. And yeah, you can still talk about what you're talking about, but it's about knowing why people are coming and how you can best solve the problem that they're coming to your channel for, whether that's actually solving a problem, whether that's saving them time, whether that is entertaining them, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think we all have like a passion of something we're really excited about. Like for me, it's reaching lives and impacting people through what we're doing with online video. And that comes out, I hope, in everything that I do. So hopefully, unless it's your very first time here, that should not be a surprise or a shocker to you. But the way we talk about the thing we're passionate about makes a difference in how other people connect and the way we present the information. And how would you recommend people maybe start figuring that part out? And like, hey, I'm really passionate about this thing, but how do I talk about it in a way that there's an audience that would really want to connect with it?
Well, I want to kind of address two things to answer that.
Okay.
One, I think don't ask for feedback from the wrong people.
Okay.
If you are asking for feedback, like if you made a video and you are asking for feedback from like friends or family that are not in your target audience, then, which I'm going to go over to the target audience here in just a second, okay. You're going to get feedback that can sometimes just more so confuse you than it helps you. Because they'll be like, oh, it's a good video, but it didn't really resonate with me. And it may not be made for them, it may not supposed to resonate with them, Mm-hmm. And so asking for feedback from the wrong people can actually hurt you more than it can help you, because it can just confuse you. So make sure that if you are sending your videos to like friends and family and stuff like that, make sure, one, that they're going to be brutally honest with you, or two, that they are actually kind of interested in the things that you're talking about. And maybe that's joining Facebook groups, that you can get feedback on that are more similar in your niche and stuff like that. But I think another thing that can really help you to break out of your own mindset and really get into your viewer's mindset is kind of imagining. So we talk about like storytelling and stuff like that a lot here. And I think it's really important to imagine your viewer's story. So you can even do it in a simple 3 act structure that we mention all the time. So imagine the character, like really knowing your target audience and knowing who you're talking to is automatically going to help you to start to break out of your own mind. And maybe their story is similar to yours, or maybe it's completely different from yours, but just kind of imagine the character. So we're going to go over the character, the want, the conflict slash risk, and then the transformation, and really just kind of imagining that in your viewer's life. So if you imagine the character, like, what's their personality? Where do they work? Why might they be watching your content? What would bring them to your content? What's their age? Just when would they be watching your content? Is it a 9 to 5 job and they're watching it on their lunch break? And so is that more entertainment based, or are you answering a question for them? You know, maybe they're working a 9 to 5 job but they're starting their own business after hours. And so they're watching your video on their lunch break, you know, just kind of really picturing your viewers' life. So
yeah, and being able to craft the content in a way that fits in exactly whatever that puzzle piece that's missing from their story. Like they're coming to you and you're kind of like, sounds like you're saying is you position yourself as the guide in their story in some way. If it's like, especially if it's educational. Yeah, educational. That's how you say that word. Content. If it's entertainment, it's a little bit different, which good old Mike's Garage in the chat has a good question about that. I want to talk about how this applies to entertainment. But for educational channels, you're understanding like, hey, you guys, here's the pain that they're experiencing. Here's the obstacle they're trying to overcome. How do they overcome that? What's at stake if they don't overcome it? What's the conflict that they're facing? And so then you craft your content to really answer those types of questions for that person. So by the time they get to the end of the video, the character, the viewer, has experienced some sort of transformation, which is now they feel like informed, or they feel excited, or they feel like, oh, I can overcome this challenge in my life in some way. Is that right? Did I summarize that right? Okay, cool. Yeah, and that is really a great way to do it, guys. Like when you're wondering, like, who is this person I'm going after? Not just think of, like, when I ask that question to people in consultations, they usually answer me and they're like, oh, shoot, like, I don't really know. And so they go to their YouTube analytics and just see who they're currently attracting. And then they tell me age and gender, basically, and sometimes what country they're from. I'm like, well, that is really hard to make your content resonate with anyone if it's just like 34 to 50-year-old males in the United States primarily, but also Canada and UK. And I'm like, okay, no. Like, let's back up and let's really figure out who this target audience is. I'll give you guys an example of what this could look like, but let's hit up good old Mike's Garage question first in the chat. He says, entertainment is a rough value add, very abstract. It is my plight. So how would you address that, Delana, for someone who's like, I'm not teaching anybody anything, and I'm just like, I just want to give them a good time. Like, shoot, how do I do that? You know?
Well, you and so many other parts of the entertainment industry. So you're definitely not alone. I mean, think about, here's the thing. I am such a firm believer in that human beings are meant to tell their stories. Like, I just believe that it's what we're meant to do. We're supposed to share our stories, whether that's knowledge or just daily life or whatever. And so I think it's really about how you are crafting the story of your life. So if you're doing entertainment-based stuff, like we had a client who does like weapon testing things, and it's not about the subject necessarily. It's about how you are actually structuring the video and how you're taking the viewer along that journey. And a lot of that is sticking to a classic storytelling structure. So knowing who is the character in the video. So is that you? Is it the viewer? Maybe it's both. And then what is the conflict, or what do they want? So what are we going after in the video? Are we testing a weapon? Are we, is there something that we want to do that day? And then what's the conflict? Like, what's at risk? What's pushing against us to accomplishing that thing, to having a good day, to making it to an event in our daily vlog, to grocery shopping, as, Tim's wife would grocery shopping
Yeah.
with 9 kids. That's a hurdle in and of itself. And
7.
so,
Don't add 2 more yet.
oh, sorry. Just
Woo,
so many.
seven's good enough for us right now.
My mom is 1 out of 9. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, she's the first out of 9.
Did she
But
turn out okay? Remember, you're being recorded. So did she turn out okay?
oh, yeah, she's great. She's perfect.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. No, I really do love my mom though. But
Good.
yeah, it's just it's taking them along that journey of, okay, so now we have this conflict, this risk, and what's at stake if we don't get to do this event. Oh my gosh, we're going to be sad. We're going to be disappointed if like things don't play out the way that I planned my day to go or my week or whatever. And then after that, once we do accomplish it, or if we don't, what did we learn from it? Like how are we transformed, and how can we share that with the viewer? Kind of talk about what you learned from that experience, good or bad. And so it's more so about how you're structuring that video, not necessarily the subject overall.
Right. So in an entertainment, like let's say a vlog, for example, you still need to know who's going to care about these stories that I'm telling. Yes. And what is this doing for them? What transformation do they want? Because no one's going to watch your story just because you're talking about yourself for 15 minutes. People are going to watch it for some sort of more selfish reason, which is I get something out of this. And that could be anything from it helps me escape reality. It makes me feel like I'm hanging out with someone who's a good friend of mine. It could be like I just have time to kill while I'm at work. It could be whatever, but you still need to know like what's happening in that person's story. So let's do a few examples here. Let's start with the one in chat from The Honest Life. She says, I'm trying to reach women starting or growing families, and I'm giving an honest account of life, pregnancy, motherhood, etc. What's my niche? LOL. So how would you answer that one, Delana? Are we talking like, hey, just figure out your niche, or she's like saying, I got lots of niches, or does that not matter given the niche not really matter as much given what you've been talking about here?
So it's not so much about the niche. I mean, it is a niche because each niche is going to kind of have its own audience. But it's more so about knowing who you're talking to, who that specific person is within that niche. So for you, your niche is going to be, I would focus a little bit more on not like what your niche is, but again, who you're talking to. Right. So, because naturally you're going to find your niche, and that's going to be like maybe younger moms who are going through their pregnancies for the first time and they're a little bit nervous about it, or first time or maybe fifth time. You never know, that they could be having complications, and they are watching you because they resonate with your struggles. And how can you share your life and structure your videos in a way that resonates with them every single time by bringing them along that this is what I want. I want to have a successful pregnancy. I want to have a happy, joyful, fulfilling pregnancy. And what are all the things that are holding you back from having that? What's the risk and everything, and kind of sharing that whole journey with them. So really think about, like, be more in their mind, like what did you need? Because I'm assuming you're probably doing this because you during your pregnancy felt maybe alone at a lot of points in it. And so what did you need during that time, and how can you really communicate that to your audience, to the other women that are struggling with those pregnancies, or maybe not struggling, but just may feel alone in some aspects of it.
Yeah. What you're saying is niche isn't really as important as understanding what their story is. And so like when people ask us like, hey, am I in the right niche or not? I'm like, well, there's not really a right or wrong niche. It's just kind of like, who are you going after and what value do you propose to deliver to them through your content? Mm-hmm. And whether or not it's like categorized as a vlog or a tutorial or a comedy or a sketch or whatever, doesn't really matter as much as the viewer getting what they want. And that's most important. So and for The Honest Life, instead of thinking maybe like, hey, I want to talk about life, I want to talk about pregnancy, I want to talk about motherhood, like which one's my niche, which one should I pick? Don't think about it in terms of topic. Think about it in terms of more in terms of value that you want to provide, and to whom are you providing that value. So, sit down, like let's make this up right now, Delana, and the honest life, we are not saying this is who you should go after. We are totally just making this up off the top of our head, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's give this person a story. Let's say, let's say pregnant. I don't want to say pregnant Peggy. That sounds too too cliche or too weird. But let's just say it's pregnant.
Yeah.
Can you think of a better one?
Not really.
Okay, sorry.
That's in my head now.
Okay. Pregnant Peggy. And let's say it's her second child. And she's pregnant with her second child. And her first one was really stressful, really hard. She didn't really feel like the doctor was taking care of her the way that she wanted. She didn't really feel like she understood what was going on with her body and all the changes and medically, and she didn't know how to make good decisions, and she just felt really confused and overwhelmed the whole time. Now she is into baby number 2. She's pregnant, and she wants this experience to be different. So instead of going to her doctor, maybe she is coming to YouTube now. And she's like, I'm going to do some research on this myself. I've already been through this once. In fact, my firstborn is only, to say, 2.5 years old. And her husband's very supportive of whatever she wants to do. He's like, it's your body. You figure, whatever you think is best, I will support. And so she's doing some research, and she's right at the very beginning of this research. She doesn't even really know what to search for, other than she just knows she doesn't want what she just had. I'm just totally made that up. I mean, I'm saying that's like, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone or whatever. And I'm not even saying that's who you should go after.
Yeah.
The honest life. But does that make sense? You kind of figure out what's their pain, what's their problem, what are they trying to solve, what are their goals, what are their fears, what are their hopes, and really defining that story for them. Is there anything else that people in chat are like, hey, I know her? And that's exactly how that person who's watching your video should feel. They should feel like, I feel like this video is for me. And when they feel like this video is for them, guess who's going to watch, who's going to keep watching, who's going to subscribe, who's going to keep watching more. When they feel like, oh man, like the thing that you're addressing or talking about in your video, whether it be an entertainment video where you're just telling your own story about related to those things for that target audience, or you're teaching them about how to find a better doctor or medications that they should not take or whatever. Same principle applies. So that's how you should, what Lily Tree in chat said. I think I know Peggy. That's how this person should feel when they're watching your content. Yeah. I feel like the honest life knows me. Anything you'd add to that, Delana?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, yeah, I think that was perfect.
If you want to stay on, I almost said stay on top because we just got a super chat that says question on top. But I'll come back to the super chats in a second. Thank you guys. It should be like something like what you're doing, the honest life, where you have it could be pregnancy, it could be motherhood. It's like I could have all these different things I want to talk about. I don't want to talk to just pregnant women. Like that's too narrow for me. Mm-hmm. Then what I would recommend you do is, instead of making the video or your brand, your channel revolve around just like a specific topic or a niche, so to speak, you make it revolve instead around a belief, a shared belief. So you're talking about life, pregnancy, motherhood. There's probably a through line or some sort of thread that ties all those together for you as a creator that makes you feel like I can talk about all these things with equal passion. And there's probably a deeper thing beneath the surface that ties that all together. And so it's really just digging into, well, what do I believe about why life, pregnancy, and motherhood really matters? And then making the brand revolve around that. So instead of hey, subscribe to my channel because I'm going to teach you how to deal with your second pregnancy. Instead, it's hey, subscribe because I believe that life is meant to be full and that we can take control of our lives and do what we feel is best or something. I don't know. Just made that up. But you put it in those terms, then you can talk about that in terms of life, pregnancy, or motherhood. Whichever direction. You have a lot more flexibility as long as the person who's watching shares that belief with you. And the strongest communities, online and offline, they don't revolve around common interests. They revolve around shared beliefs, right? And so that's really going to help your community grow tighter as well. So,
yeah, and I think, yeah, I think on that note, since you brought up the beliefs, I think it's super important because we're kind of balancing almost two different values in a way. They're both connected, but there's the value that how do we bring people in? You know, what's the value that like we're titling our videos and things like that? Like there's that value that brings people in. So that's going to be for the honest life. That's going to be you know, talking about certain topics on that new mothers may be searching for, or struggling mothers may be searching for, and stuff like that. So that's going to bring your value that brings people in. And then there's the underlying belief that's going to bring people back. So that's really kind of tying into that human element of, you know, how you're connecting with your viewers and how you're sharing your story with them that resonates in a way. So there's kind of both of those to keep in mind is, okay, here's how I'm bringing people in, and then I'm making sure that I connect with them in this way because I know that this is the underlying belief that they may not be consciously aware of that they're coming to my content for.
That's right. Yeah. Let me give you guys another example. And this is from a worksheet that we use sometimes with clients who are trying to figure this out. So this is a document that we have, and the example we put in there is Porsche Peter. So like the car Porsches. So, oh wait, no, then I called him Larry. Never mind. So Luxury Larry lives in the Midwest, and he's a young, I'm just reading this. Okay. So if it sounds a little weird, that's why, but I'm just reading it to you from our example document. He lives in the Midwest and is a young professional in upper management. And because, did you guys lose me?
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. My internet choked up for a second.
Mine too.
You guys are still here. Okay, let me keep going. Luxury Larry, he lives in the Midwest and is a young professional in the upper management at a successful mid-sized corporation. He got there because he has a type A personality. He's very detail-oriented and is particular about everything. Today, he's earning over $100,000 a year. He didn't grow up wealthy, though. He worked very hard, earned his way to where he is now, and he's proud of it. Ever since he was 12 years old, he dreamed about this level of success. That's also the same time he first noticed luxury cars and immediately grew an interest in them because of that sense of accomplishment they represented. As he studied the cars as a teenager, he didn't find himself attracted to the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, or the Lamborghinis, or other cars that signify a luxury lifestyle. No, he wanted a car better that matches his personality, like a Porsche, Tesla, Corvette, Ferrari, McLaren, or Bugatti. To him, luxury cars are not about speed, transportation, or even luxury. He doesn't collect cars as a hobby. In fact, he never owns more than 3 cars at a time. Now that he's accomplished his dream of success, it's about having a sense of pride in owning this car. It's a status symbol for him, almost like a trophy that represents his dream and journey so far. He decided to buy a Porsche because he loves the driving experience. The performance is just what he enjoys, and he loves the simple yet classy exterior of the car. He wants the best car, but not the impossible standard, so Porsche is his choice. He doesn't go to a dealership and buy a Porsche off the lot, though. He's too particular for that. He custom ordered his Porsche and has to wait for it to arrive, but he's okay with that because he wants the best. Now that he has his Porsche, he wants to know, how do I take care of it so it remains a trophy, the trophy he wants it to be? He already is somewhat educated about the car. For example, he knows not to take his car through a car wash, but does want to learn more about how to care for his car. He wants it to look and perform at its best. So he participates in local car shows and events in order to not only socialize with like-minded automotive enthusiasts, but also to learn more about how to care for his car. When he needs to buy something for his car, he makes his purchase choices based on what he hears about from his friends and from respected social media accounts. See, for him, caring for his car isn't just about a sense of accomplishment. That's part of it, but there's also a deeper belief that he's preserving a piece of history by taking care of top-notch cars. For the older cars, it's like, you know, being there when the car was new, and for the new cars, it's starting the preservation now. He appreciates a well-worn car that shows years, but doesn't understand why people don't take take care of cars when he sees a beaten up car. This is like, and there's like an element of preserving history and legacy that he appreciates, but he might not overtly say that. So because of this belief, he's more than happy to make an investment into getting his car to look and perform its absolute best. For him, it's not just an investment into his car, it is also an investment into the future of his car, the social statements he makes when he drives it, and the way it makes him feel about where he's come in his life. So that's why he enjoys connecting with other car enthusiasts on a regular basis. That's why he reads about cars online, watches car YouTube channels, attends local car events and track days, and follows car channels on social media because he wants his car to look and perform his best. Okay, so I kind of read through a lot, but there's a lot in there. He knows what he believes, what's his backstory that got him into cars. And so if you can develop a channel for this guy specifically, like, you are going to gain a lot more momentum with that audience than just like a generic car channel. And in this document, like, we have pictures, we know what his garage looks like. It's like, this is what this guy's garage looks like. This is what the front of his house looks like. And so we actually put like a real story and a real personality to this. What are his fears? What are his hopes? What are his dreams? Where is the information gaps that he has? What does he already know? And all of that. Like, that's when you have that type of understanding of who you're going after on YouTube, you're going to gain momentum much more quickly. And with that audience, and your content is going to definitely resonate with them when every single video you do is delivered and created for that person.
And you don't want to think that, like, by imagining, because I know that's like, whoa, that's like so specific, that story. Like, am I only talking to one person? Am I only going to resonate with one person if I think so specifically about my audience? And that's really not the case, because it's more about, by knowing better who you're talking to, it's kind of like all of your content can go through this filter of, am I going to resonate with this person? And if it passes that filter of, yes, it will resonate with this person, that just means that you're not narrowing your message too much, but you're actually better delivering a much clearer message in every single video that your audience will actually pick up on, rather than being like, well, anybody can just come to my content. Anybody can resonate. Because if we're too broad in what we think our message is, then the message is hard to pick up on.
That's right. So you gotta make it clear, making that person feel like, this is for me, I get it. And definitely. So in chat, Simple Joe says, the hyper-focused belief is easier to understand than niche. Which goes back to our point, like, maybe don't think in terms of just niche, but think in terms of who are you trying to reach and what value. So yes, you're on the right track there, Simple Joe. And then Lily Tree says, I feel like my target audience stuff is way too superficial. And that's often like when I do these 1 hour consultations with people, it's not uncommon for me to spend the first sometimes 30 minutes just really digging into figuring out this person's story. And I find that usually creators, they know that story of their audience, like it's in them, but they just hadn't really thought through how to articulate it before and how to really craft it for a story. And so sometimes, like, I hate sometimes to spend a whole half hour in an hour long session on one thing, but that one thing, once it unlocks, the rest of the half hour goes like really fast, and now their brains are exploding because now they get it and everything else makes sense. And not literal brain explosions, that would be gross, but yeah. So,
but pretty close.
When you do your sessions, your 1-on-1 hour sessions, Delina, how much time do you find like you spend on target audience?
Yeah, quite a bit. It's either target audience or value proposition are usually, which they play very much together. Right. Yeah. And so you have to have those things really clear, because if you don't know who you're talking to and why your content matters to them, then it's really hard to craft content around that. And so that's why we put such a big emphasis on it in our consultations and video labs and everything that we do, because that's really going to be the key. First, we need to unlock what your message really is and how you're communicating that to your viewer and who your viewer is, because from there, everything else will start to kind of craft around That's that. Right.
Yeah. A Country Life says, common belief is important, but I find that I have a lot of viewers who are lonely for their family and enjoy the feeling of being part of our family. Which, yeah, you've identified the belief, which is they believe that being part of a family is important. And you've identified the value that you're providing is you're letting them be a part of your family. sometimes those relational values and beliefs, they can be super powerful once they're formed. But just like real relationships, like they sometimes take a while to really form and solidify. And so that's why I think like sometimes just being able to have like a hook value maybe, and like hook that first time viewer with this. And then as I start watching, then they're like, oh, I feel like I'm a part of this family. And that's what keeps them coming back. Like what Delana said earlier, like, there's what gets them in and what keeps them in. So do you have anything else you want to share about how someone could figure that out, Delana, in terms of like some of these values, like relationships that just take a really long time to form? How might they kickstart that relationship in the very beginning and rather than just waiting for like those 2-3 subscribers a day to come in and maybe one of them actually sticks around or something like that?
Yeah, I think honestly, the key is really how you're taking them along that journey. So you may just be sharing your life, but like you said, like what's the first thing that they see whenever they open that video? Are they just saying, "Hey guys, welcome to my channel"? You know, that's not really going to hook them. So what's maybe like the most interesting, or maybe the conflict or something that kind of that whole video was circled around? You know, maybe the most impact that that video has, and how can you kind of take a piece of that and put it at the beginning so that the whole time somebody's watching, they're waiting to put all the puzzle pieces together as to how that event came about, or something like that, you know. Or it's really, again, going back to knowing your audience and what they're coming to the video for, and how can we present that in a valuable way right at the beginning of the video, so that the viewer is assured, you know, oh, I came to this video for this certain thing, whether that's to feel connected or be entertained or something, and you're promising that value right at the beginning, and so it keeps them watching. Because how many times have we clicked around on YouTube and clicked on a video that we're like, oh, that looks entertaining, and then it let us down, you know? So we want to ensure our viewer that they're going to get what they came for in the video right within those first 30 seconds, and then from there it's taking them along that journey. For vloggers, I feel like it's really important to follow a 3-act structure. So if you haven't studied that at all, I highly recommend doing so, and sticking really closely to that structure right off the bat. And then once you kind of get it down, you can kind of, you know, put your own twist on it and stuff like that. But
that's right.
That will help you to build that relational value a little bit faster.
Yes. Yeah. We have a whole episode actually that we did about 3-act structures and how to tell stories. And I'm trying to find it real quick, if I can find it here. I'm trying to go back and look at it right now. I'm not like one of those podcasters who knows like all of their episode numbers and everything right off the top of their head. You know, like some of these people do. Let's see if
people actually memorize that stuff. I feel like I don't have enough brain space for that. Oh, here it is.
It's number 146. How to structure an engaging story for your next video. So I will link to that in the show notes for you guys who are listening to the recording of this, so you guys can listen to that one. It's with someone else that we're working with, the storytelling stuff. His name's Josh Gott, and that'll be a good episode for you guys there. Delaney, we have a good question from Scrift in chat who says, I don't know how to follow any of this stuff. I have 84 subscribers and I edit on a freaking phone. It is all I have, but at least me and my subs care for each other. If someone's like, I don't know where to start with this, where would you recommend? Give them like step 1, 2, and 3 or something like that for getting started with figuring this stuff out.
Step 1, make sure that your audience is clear. It sounds like the audience that you have built really cares for each other. So that means that you're doing really good at maybe cultivating that relationship. But in order to kind of broaden that reach a little bit more, you have to really get specific about who you're talking to. And then from there, once you really know who you're talking to and the value that you're adding from their lives, and that may take, you know, just sitting down. For me, whenever I wrote out my value proposition, I literally sat there for 3 hours, writing out everything about my target audience and value proposition and just everything. I want this person to come to my channel. They probably feel this, and this way. This is what I want my channel to do for them. And I just wrote it out until it started to form itself. So just really give yourself that time to figure that out, to write it out and really hammer it down. And then from there, start studying some storytelling structures, and how to implement those into your content. If you're editing on a phone, that's not going to make any difference. You can still definitely order your content in a way that brings your viewers along a journey. So plenty of people do that on their phones or just, on basic iMovie. So you can definitely, like, just because you don't have all the resources doesn't mean that you can't still deliver value to your audience. I would say those are the two biggest things. And then maybe from there, ask yourself, how are you, once you're getting them into the video, maybe you're doing a good job of taking them along that journey. How are we getting them into another video and another video and another video? Because that's what helps to really grow your content across your whole channel. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the fact that you're editing on a phone doesn't make a difference. It's
Exactly.
not. We're not talking about the device or the quality. We're talking about how does your content resonate with people, and the way you make it resonate with people is to make it connect to their story in some way, and that you need to know their story in order to make that happen. So a few things to maybe consider when you're thinking about, like, how do I put together this person's story, is think about, one, their demographics, which would be like gender or location, how old are they, relationship status, education, work, annual income, just whatever is relevant in terms of just kind of personal data. And then 2, think about what are their personal interests? What do they do for fun? What do they care about? What do they really love? Like, what would maybe be their favorite quote or favorite bands or, something. Number 3, what are their behaviors? So, like, what do they do for fun or in certain situations that relate to the value you're trying to provide to that person? So, like, what are their online activities, or what are their retail shopping activities, and which stores, and why do they buy what they buy? And how someone spends their money shows a lot about what they value and what's important to them. So just kind of tracking that can really help. Where does he get information? What sources does he trust? And stuff like that. And then number 4, the last thing is, what is that person's goals? So what goals do they have? What do they ultimately want? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to overcome? What are they trying to fix? What concerns do they have? What challenges are they facing? And what helps them take that next step? And what pain do they feel? Objections do they have? Like, whatever. Just figuring out, what is that person's goals? What are they trying to actually do and accomplish with watching videos like mine? If you don't do this stuff, guys, sometimes people still do accidentally grow, but one of the reasons why we start off often our 1-hour sessions with these types of conversations with clients is because if you just are trying to make generic videos for a generic audience, you're going to get generic results. But if you have a specific audience in mind and you make strategically crafted videos for that specific audience, when that person finds your content, they are going to resonate with it on a much deeper level and really connect with what you're all about. Subscribe, watch more. The trust factors will grow up. They'll grow higher. They'll get whatever. You know what I mean? They'll grow. Yeah. And you'll have a much bigger impact on that person's life overall by providing more value to them and getting more momentum with that audience. So those types of things are really important. So if you want to work through this with us, and we would love to do that with you in a 1-hour session, there's a link in the show notes of this episode where you can schedule a 1-hour session with myself, with Delana, or Lennon. And we would love to spend an hour really diving in with you and helping you take those next steps on your channel. But even without that, I hope this is kind of gives you guys a little bit to get started. I have one thing I want to tell you guys about next week's episode, but before I do that, Delana, did you have anything else you wanted to add to this topic of conversation before I make an announcement?
I think that I was going to say, the one way that you can know, because a lot of people are like, well, okay, you're saying add value, know your target audience and everything like that. How do I know that it's clarified enough? How do I know that my message is resonating with people? Like, how do I know that that's being communicated through my screen, and the best way that you can know is through your YouTube analytics, because you'll know that you're delivering a clear value and a clear message to a clear target audience when your metrics start to reflect it. So pay attention to like your audience retention. If people are dropping off right at the beginning, the first thing that you're doing in your video isn't resonating with them. So what do we need to put at the beginning of the video? And it's going to take testing and it's going to take time. YouTube is a long haul game, right? And so don't be afraid to experiment and try different things on your channel, because it's definitely not going to be like a make or break situation. I always like to say you won't know until you try. And so always experiment, try things, see what resonates with your viewers, but do it strategically by paying attention to your audience retention graphs and how people are actually interacting with your content. So that's how you'll know.
Yeah. And one thing people do is they look at their demographic information in their analytics and then be like, oh, this is who I'm supposed to be going after. But like you look at it and you're like, oh, it's 80% of 12-year-olds from India or whatever, right? You're like, that's not who I'm trying to go after. So pick a better target audience and you'll start seeing that information the demographic information in your YouTube analytics start to reflect whoever you're going after. So rather than just chasing whoever YouTube says is resonating with your content, I think there's some value in looking at that, but ultimately you get to pick who that audience is by consistently making content for them, and then watch that demographic information on YouTube change over time as you target that person better and better and better. So great. Yeah. Next week's going to be a little bit different. I added a new perk for those of you who are channel members here. And I want to thank all of you who are here who are channel members, like Construction Conies and the Non-Traditional Life and Elaine Smith and a whole bunch of you guys who are in chat. So for those of you guys who are supporting the channel at that $4.99 a month tier, I updated one of the perks, which is now you can submit audio questions to me. And it's just it's a secret link. You tap it and you record your voice right there on your phone or your computer or wherever you happen to be sitting. You send me a brief audio question recording. And then next week, I am going to have your question. I'm going to play it here on the episode and then spend some time answering each of those questions. So it'll be like we'll answer a broad range of topics and issues and concerns, I'm sure. But I want to give those of you guys who are doing that an opportunity. So if you're not already a channel member, if you're here watching the live stream, you'll find that join button down below. Or if you're listening to the podcast recording of this later, there's a link down in the show notes where you can click and become a channel member. It's $4.99 a month and get access to a lot of behind the scenes and in-depth trainings that I post for people who are channel members, like 45-minute, hour-long, in-depth sessions that I'm teaching at different conferences and events I'm speaking at. I take those recordings, post those for you guys there as well. But one of the perks I just added is that. So looking forward to literally hearing your questions and playing them back for you guys next time and spending next week and spending some time getting into that. So if you're not a channel member, consider doing that today and submit your question and we'll get into playing those and re-answering those next week. So I'm looking forward to that, guys. Thank you, Delana, for hanging out with us and good to hear your thoughts on all of this and the rest of you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Awesome.
Yeah, it's great to have you too. And we will have another staff member from my team here on probably in 2 weeks. And it'll be fun. So look forward to seeing you guys then. So thanks for hanging out. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.